Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non-Sequitur News for April 28th, 2025. It's Season 4, Episode 118. I am Mayor Watt, and we're going to talk about these 10 articles. Yoda talks like George Lucas. License plates really should just be QR codes. 3 hotspots of emerging diseases. A tablet got stuck in business class. Starter homes that cost less than $1 million, and that's a thing? Starter homes that cost less than $1 million? Burpless cows, bone collector caterpillar, Nike fungible tokens, anti-piracy ad doubles as an irony ad, and cash for crowds goes finders keepers. That and more over here on Non-Sequitur News. It's all aggregated by hometown.com. It's a huge news aggregator that I use every single day to manage my information overload. Go over and check it out. All right, everybody, let's just get into this. Hey, did you know that if you have a Nest thermostat, Google is about to abandon it? We're not going to talk about that one today. Anyway, I just saw that when I loaded up the page over at Hometown. Go check it out. So the first article is reveals why Yoda talks like that. George Lucas does. So the Star Wars creator recently settled a long-standing question about the Jedi Master. I think it's because Yoda talks like George Lucas. I don't really know, because I haven't read the article. That's how this works. My reaction is the reaction that I would normally have when I'm reading something for the first time, because I'm actually reading it for the first time. Oh yeah, I did. So if you want the articles and you're over on Twitch, you can hit !NSN. They're all embedded already over on YouTube, so just look in the description. Justin Carter put this article together. It's over at gizmodo.com. There have been so many questions Star Wars fans have asked over the years, and why does Yoda talk like that? Well, since his debut in Empire Strikes Back, the old Jedi Master has spoken backwards. How are you doing? For anyone else is doing, how are you? Is for Yoda. That was my Yoda, but it's because I haven't heard Yoda in so long that I forgot how to talk like Yoda. I could do a pretty good impression, but anyway. George Lucas was asked about Yoda's peculiar speech patterns during a recent anniversary screening for Empire, and his answer, I had to figure out a way to get people to actually listen, especially 12-year-olds. He went on to explain that since Yoda is a philosopher for Luke, the way that he spoke had to feel significant, and if you speak regular English, people won't listen that much. So if you had an accent, it's really hard to understand. And I know people that they cannot pick up an accent. They can't just, if it's not English and straightforward English without an accent. And I know that that's all subjective, because one person's accent is another person's accent, Like if you have a quote unquote heavy Irish accent and you are listening to somebody and that's where you've always grown up and you've never really heard just plain, West Virginia accent, then you'll sit there and go, what the hell? I don't understand your accent. It's so harsh American versus, the American sitting there going, it's so harsh Irish, but whatever, break out of your mental loop and try to understand what somebody is saying. And if you don't understand it, just go, okay, hold on a second. I don't quite understand. My brain isn't wired that way, or whatever you want to do. Work past it together instead of throwing up barriers. But anyway, so he went on to explain that since Yoda's a philosopher, he has to speak in an interesting way. He does. But that's it. Okay, the next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. California will likely run out of license plate numbers this year. This article is over in Jalopnik. This car should not be allowed on the road, as a matter of fact. I just saw this when I started loading up today's site. list, I was like, why is this car on the road? This shouldn't be allowed. Vehicles have to have their tires covered in most states. I don't know about California anymore. I used to live in California. I don't think I was ever allowed to have naked tires. Anyway, the state of California is synonymous with car culture. It had nearly 13.2 million registered cars in 2023, almost the most of any state, nearly twice as many as the number 2 state, Texas, which has a mere 7.4 million cars. Californians have a uniquely kind of affinity, it says here, for cars, either by innate passion or because those who don't live in the Bay Area are virtually forced to rely on cars to get us around. So, like in San Diego, you can live in San Diego. In San Francisco, you can live in San Francisco. In LA, you can live in San Francisco. You can live in LA. My God, I have the previous town stuck in my head for the next statement. Anyway, so if you're in a big city, you like New York, you don't have to have a car. You can ride the bus, and sometimes there's other ways. But most of us that lived in California had to have a car. There was just no way to get from one place to another. So that's why you could have 30 million people in California and everybody has a car. So California has so many cars, in fact, that it's running out of unique alphanumeric combinations for its standard issue, non-commercial issue license plates faster than initially anticipated. And that's because it's only 7 characters and there's only a finite number of those characters along with the numbers and letters. So the most recent issued plates are currently falling in the 9UBA000 to 9UBZ999 range, and the total number of potential combinations for the current license plate orientation can provide over 158 million combinations, not considering any banned combinations. So eventually, the final license plate issued under the current recipe will be 9ZZZ999. I want that license plate. California Department of Motor Vehicles told the Sacramento Bee that it's happening 2 years earlier than previously anticipated. Earlier, DMV reports predicted that the state would run out of unique combinations in 2027, but the new registrations increased more rapidly than originally anticipated. During 2023, it was an 11.9% increase in registrations over 2022. So do they not like rotate them out? I thought they... Interesting. In fact, the solution is much less exciting than you hope. The state will soon shuffle its license plate recipe up a bit. Currently, the license plates have 1 number followed by 3 letters followed by 3 numbers. Well, the new recipe will be 3 numbers followed by 3 letters followed by 1 number. So they're just rejiggering stuff a little bit. They're not actually going to run out. It's just going to change. But this car should not be allowed on the road. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Pandemic potential. Scientists discover 3 hotspots of deadly emerging disease in the U.S. I'm considering like positive news being the dominant thing, but I don't see news as good or bad so much when we're going through it. Just it is news, and everybody needs to know the news. Don't want to be caught in a blind spot. Sometimes we willfully do that. Most of the time when I'm trying to follow my own advice. Anyway, scientists discovered 3 hotspots of deadly emerging disease in the U.S. Virginia Tech researchers discovered 6 new rodent carriers of hantavirus and identified U.S. hotspots, highlighting the virus's adaptability and the impact of climate and ecology on its spread. But this is hantavirus specifically, I guess. The article is over at scitechdaily.com. It's written by Virginia Tech, but published over at scitechdaily.com. Researchers at Virginia Tech basically identified 3 major hotspots for the hantavirus: Virginia, Colorado, and Texas. They also documented 15 rodent species carrying the virus, 6 of which had not previously been recognized as hosts. And all of these findings were published in the journal Ecosphere, or you could probably pronounce that or spell that in a different way. Ecosphere. Be afraid of the ecosystem. It says the project is timely because hantavirus is considered an emerging disease of pandemic potential with symptoms that resemble severe COVID infections. Yeah, hantavirus is a family of viruses that have been identified in regions all over the globe and can reach mortality rates similar to other diseases of high concern, such as Nipah and Ebola. In Asia, hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome is caused by the Hantan virus, Hantaan, the Hantan virus. In Europe, that syndrome is caused by the Dobrova-Belgrade virus, and in North and South America, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome is caused by Synombre virus and Andes virus, all hantaviruses. Synombre virus was first discovered in New Mexico in 1993. Anyway, there's a whole lot more over at this article. They talk about new hosts and new insights and the role of climate change because the virus is can spread into other areas because the climate is changing. Then it can actually, instead of being wiped out because it's too cold or too hot, it can spread further or into different areas because the environmental dynamic is changing. Let's keep going. The next article is over in non-sequitur news. A flight carrying hundreds had to divert after someone's tablet got stuck in business class. A flight from LA to Munich had to divert when someone's tablet became jammed in a business class seat. The Lufthansa Airbus A380 flight diverted to Boston over fears the lithium battery could overheat. The diversion meant a 3-hour delay to the passenger's journey. The Lufthansa flight carrying 461 people had to divert after someone's tablet became jammed in a business class seat. So they had to divert, and then, well, that right there is just the brakes from the plane, not the lithium battery being on fire. So the article's over at Business Insider. Milan Sumbi put the article together. And it basically just jammed in the seat. In a statement to Business Insider, an airline spokesperson said that the tablet had become jammed in a business class seat and had already shown visible signs of deformation due to the seat's movements. When the flight diverted, Simply Flying, which first reported the news, said the device was an iPad. The decision to divert was taken to eliminate the potential risk, particularly with regard to possible overheating. And since it had it's signs of deformation, if it was being crushed in that seat, there's a potential for metal inside to poke into the lithium ion battery and any air containing moisture getting in there, and you're looking at this thing basically starting a runaway. It says lithium batteries pose a safety risk if damaged, punctured, or crushed. It can lead to thermal runaway, a chain reaction that causes a battery to overheat, possibly catching fire or exploding. And regardless, even if it does just start on fire and not explode, it's off-gassing lithium ion gas, fumes, smoke basically, and it's horrendous for people. So smart of them to pull over. All right, the next article is over in non-sequitur news as well. 5 years ago, only 85 U.S. cities had starter homes that cost at least $1 million. Now there are 233. It says the typical starter home costs at least $1 million in 233 cities. A Zillow study found just 5 years ago, only 85 cities had such starter homes. Starter homes, folks. We're not talking about $1 million houses that you might suspect are $1 million houses. These are starter homes in 233 cities. What the hell? So to define a starter home price, Zillow looked at estimated home values towards the bottom of the market in each city between the 5th and 35th percentile for each area. The article is over at businessinsider.com by Dan Latu and Madison Hoff. And it's insane. Zillow data shows just how expensive homes have become since 2020, including in states like Rhode Island and Minnesota, that aren't historically known for ultra-pricey real estate. 5 years ago, only 85 had that $1 million, and now 233. New York with 32 cities, New Jersey with 20 cities, but California led the list with 113 cities, where the typical one is $1 million or higher. So, yeah, all they did was frame it within the bottom 35%. So 2 new states joined the list, Rhode Island and Minnesota. New Shoreham in Rhode Island, the main town, New Shoreham, Rhode Island. The main town on Block Island, a popular summer destination in Minnetonka Beach, Minnesota, a lakeside suburb of Minneapolis, reached the $1 million starter home. This is one that I think we've talked about here in ohmTown. I don't quite remember, but basically somebody was in one of the articles that we talked about. They were giving away the home, but the person who was getting the home had to move it because it's cheaper to give away the home and have somebody move it than it was to demolish it because it was on an island, I think. And I think it was Block Island over in Rhode Island. Anyway, in 2024, the National Association of Realtors found that the median age of first-time home buyers hit an all-time high of 38. At the same time, first-time home buyers made up only 24% of all transactions, a record low. The median price for the home had risen by 42.5% in the past 5 years, according to real estate site Redfin, from $302,000. Let me round up, $303,000 to $431,000 in March of 2025. So from March 2020 to March 2025, it went up $130,000. And well, how many homes went up that much? $130,000. Anyway, mortgage rates are also relatively high, which makes borrowing money more difficult. So 8%, but I suspect by the end of summer, we're going to be looking at 70s era inflation numbers, but don't know. I've stopped babysitting that kind of stuff, but I guess I could start picking it up again. Early on in our streaming history, I used to talk about these numbers because they were a hot topic, but now it's almost like, I don't know, if somebody walks up and flicks you on the nose at some point, unless you lash out and make it stop, you just kind of get comfortable with getting flicked in the nose every morning. Anyway, some people even feel that their 6-figure incomes aren't enough to comfortably purchase a home. I certainly wouldn't. Last year, tech worker Madeline Driver and her husband set out with a $700,000 budget and remote work flexibility, looking at houses from Colorado to Pennsylvania, and they told Business Insider that finding a home to fit their budget and broad location preferences felt impossible. Yeah, I can imagine. First-time home buyer Elsa said that she felt pressure to buy a home in 2022 before she was ready. She and her husband purchased a nearly $1 million home in Washington, D.C. suburb, taking on credit card debt to keep up with the mortgage and other costs that cropped up, which is just a horrible decision. But I can see how that would happen. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Burpless cows. We've been talking about this from time to time, trying to cut out methane or methane, depending on your location. New flaxseed and pea protein, PEA, protein supplement may cut down on dairy cow methane emissions and boost milk production efficiency, according to University of Florida researchers that are testing a new type of cattle feed that could help dairy cows release less methane from burps and flatulence and use nutrients more efficiently. Because methane traps heat in the atmosphere, we're trying to do away with it. Difficulty is that we eat cows. Cows eat a lot of biomass, and in response to their conversion, they toot and burp a lot. So who doesn't? I don't know. Well, the article is over at scitechdaily.com. So our University of Florida is who wrote it. The researchers, led by Antonio Faciola, looked at a potential dairy cattle supplementary feed made of flaxseed and pea protein, and the study was published. It says published when. Interesting. They haven't put in the date. Anyway, it was recently published in the Journal of Dairy Science. It's a win-win situation. Every time we reduce methane, we keep that energy in the cow's body, said Fasciola. I don't know if that's all that right, but okay. Associate Professor of UF's Department of Animal Sciences, University of Alaska researcher, assistant professor, and former UF postdoctoral student James Vineyard was critical to the study, he said. Vineyard simulated dairy cow digestion in the lab to see how much methane was produced and to examine possibilities of improving that fermentation by adding a supplemental feed. So this supplement has multiple potential benefits. Not only could it reduce methane emissions, but it might also increase energy availability for cows, potentially leading to increased milk production. But I don't know if it's because it's keeping energy or if it's just converting it, because it says the supplement, which is rich in omega-3 fatty acids and proteins, reduced methane production and improved overall digestion. But that might be an element of proteins in a living being. So with food security becoming an increasingly important concern, he emphasized the importance of feeding cows more efficiently to meet growing global demands. I say everybody should just start growing microgreens at home. Cut out the middleman. You're giving greens to a cow, you're eating its meat. Why not just eat the greens? They're packed full of nutrients, they have energy. Go a different route, folks. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Extremely metal bone collector. Caterpillar. It cloaks itself in shattered exoskeletons of its vanquished foes. A newly discovered species of caterpillar in Hawaii is unlike any other. It's carnivorous, already an extreme rarity for a generally benign creature. And when it's not devouring its helpless foes, it's basically doing what what do you call it? Not the Vulcans. What? My brain just locked up. Damn it. Why can I not? It's not the Vulcans. It's not humans. What's the other one? Oh my God. I'm going to do it live. Why not? My God, why am I having such a hard time with this? I'm gonna Klingons. Damn it. Anyway, it's like the Klingons back in the newer version of Star Trek Discovery. They like put bodies on their ship. Anyway, the production value of this episode, I think, is at an all-time high. Anyway, taking trophies ranging from entire heads to molted exoskeletons, there's a reason why scientists have nicknamed it the bone collector. As detailed in a study published in the journal Science, the caterpillars favor lurking in spider webs, hidden from view like in a tree hollow or a rock cavity where they strip the corpses of insects ensnared in the web. This is absolutely, oh my gosh. They call it the bone collector. In the Hungry Futurism category by Frank Landemore, this article here has a picture of the caterpillar, I guess, with all of its like stuff super glued to it. We started realizing these things are only hanging out where there are spiders, lead author Daniel Rubinoff said, an entomologist at the University of Hawaii who told this to Ars Technica. It's the sort of thing that you really want to be sure of because it's not just incredible, it's unimaginable. It's remarkable, too, that the caterpillar would tie its fate to a spider, a clear and present danger for both caterpillar and moth alike, said David Wagner, an entomologist at the University of Connecticut. I'm an entomologist. I study, there's even a video over on Twitter. I'm not going to click it because screw Twitter. So the body part camouflage may look random and haphazard, but it apparently is a carefully curated outfit, somewhere between mortician and tailor. A bone collector will use its mandibles to cut a beetle carapace here and an ant limb there down to size, and are notably picky when it comes to choosing what to add to their suits. It puts the exoskeleton in the basket, or else it gets the hose again. Though what informs its fashion choices is unclear. You just got to ask it. So in a lab, I wonder if I could do that with an AI. Tell it that it's a bone collector caterpillar and ask it to demonstrate its motivation for choosing a given body part. So by studying the caterpillar's genetics, Rubinov and his team revealed that the species likely emerged at least 5 million years ago, which is older than Oahu itself. Because it has no relatives of the same lineage, the researchers believe its original home was another island that's since been swallowed by the ocean, per ours. Well, per Rubinov, probably. Anyway, pretty cool. Bone collector caterpillar. Okay, this next article is interesting. Because it has to do with Nike NFTs and Nike fungible tokens, I guess. I don't know. A group of people sued Nike this week over its decision to wind down its virtual show project, RTFKT, whatever. The buyers of the digital assets accuse Nike of causing the rug to be pulled out from under them and say they wouldn't have bought its NFTs if they'd known they were unregistered securities. Oh, bullshit. Filed in the New York's Eastern District, the proposed class action lawsuit seeks unspecified damages of more than $5 million for alleged violations of New York, California, Florida, and Oregon consumer protection. Nobody bitches when it's irrational buying and selling for profit, but the moment rug pull takes place, come on, they have no inherent value. It's all speculative. The NFTs are bullshit. Anyway, Wes Davis put the article together over at TheVerge.com. It's perceived value by a group of people who got in early enough to hope and pray that somebody else perceives it of greater value, and thus it becomes an asset. But everything about it has no inherent value. I can make millions of copies of this, and unless people start suing like crazy, you're never going to chase that down. So, and was this actually made by AI, or was it hand generated, hand painted? If it's human from end to end, then it can actually be protected. But if it's just AI generated, then it can't even be an NFT because it has no inherent protection. So I'm really curious about that aspect of it. But that's not part of this, right? In law school, you're not allowed to inject additional context to make your argument sound. You have to deal with what's available. In this, NFTs have no inherent value. It's only what somebody is perceived to want to pay for the NFT. And NFTs are they're nothing. It's a digital contract within a digital space, within a framework that is just make-believe because somebody decided that it's going to have value, and everybody else that's getting in early enough is taking this speculation to a whole new high. And the moment that it's irrational sales, they're yay, yay, yay. But the moment that the quote unquote rug gets pulled out from under them, they lose their freaking mind. No, you speculated and you lost. Nike tried to jump into the NFT game by buying RTFKT in 2021, but like Starbucks Odyssey, it never quite worked out, and the company abandoned the idea, announcing in December via the RTKFT Twitter account that it planned to wind down RTFKT operation. I don't know what that I don't know what that means. RTFTK, whatever your FTK'd or FKT'd. There you go. I keep saying it the wrong way. By the end of January of this year, so it's already done. Since then, RTFKT has seemingly been maintained by a single person named Samuel Cardillo, who spent Thursday posting through the sudden, about it, the sudden disappearance and then later reappearance of artwork for its clone Twitter, I think it's clone X, but I don't know what that actually means, NFTs project. At any rate, it's all speculation, and it's people hoping and praying that this digital convergence into NFT space and blah, blah, blah is going to have legs. And you know what? I really don't like I need to get away from whatever this is on my other screen. Go. All right. So this next article is over in Wanted. Iconic anti-piracy ad may have used pirated font. You wouldn't steal a font, would you? You wouldn't download a car, would you? So stupid. Iconic anti-piracy ad may have used pirated font. It's over at gizmodo.com by Matt Novak. The TV ad, which is available on YouTube, premiered in 2004, and if you haven't seen it already, it's worth taking a stroll down memory lane. It was at the pinnacle of when things were being pirated, riding the high seas of the internets. The ad featured animated graphics that read like, "You wouldn't steal a car, and you wouldn't steal a handbag, and you wouldn't steal a television," whatever. Well, the font is so unique that the PSA is often parodied in a way that you can instantly spot and shows up as a meme on social media all the time. As Torrent Freak points out, the font in the PSA appears to be FF Confidential, created by Just Van Rossum in 1992, and people have long assumed that the people behind the ad used that font, but online sleuths have recently discovered by looking at the old campaign materials that the font used was actually called X-Band Rough. It looks exactly like FF Confidential because it was illegally cloned from that typeface, but X-Band Rough was free, and thus it was a pirated version of a font that people had to pay for. Kind of interesting. Simple fact that the campaign materials PDFs available on the Internet Archive Wayback Machine, since the website is no longer active, were definitely using a pirated font is pretty funny by itself. So it's not just a piracy ad, it's an irony ad. Okay, our last article for the April 28th episode on Sequitur News is over at 4-Wheel Tech. A crowd has declared finders keepers, and if you yell it 3 times after you pick up anything that has been dropped, it's yours. It's like divorce in some places, apparently. I know that's got to be a meme. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but if you yelled divorce 3 times, you're divorced. I think that was used in a sitcom somewhere too, like The Office. Anyway, I had heard about that like way back when I was a kid, so it's persisted over the decades. But this crowd declares finders keepers after bags filled with cash fall from an armored truck. Over $300,000 apparently. Colin Woodard over at jalopnik.com put this article together. According to the complaint filed with the cops, with the 5-0, with the Popo, the Brinks Home Security Company truck was driving through Oak Park, a suburb west of Chicago, that architecture fans may remember was once the home of Frank Lloyd Wright when the back door, not Frank Lloyd Wright's back door, but the back door of the truck opened due to unknown means. That may sound like a couple of expert thieves came out of retirement needing refinancing to perform one last job. The big score. The whole kit and caboodle. But it seems likely that it was just a Brinks employee didn't close it correctly. Could that someone have been an insider the thieves planted to ensure that they got the money they needed? You can't prove it wasn't. So somebody just lost their job, I'm sure. Anyway, the driver claims that they saw between 50 and 100 people, whatever the actual number was. They reportedly made off with about $300,000. That isn't very much per person, so it isn't likely anyone got rich. But on the other hand, who couldn't use an extra $5,000 or so? They say here that that kind of money doesn't go nearly as far as it used to anymore, but it would certainly cover at least a few dozen eggs next time you're at the grocery store. As of Friday, there have been no arrests related to the alleged theft of the alleged cash in the alleged heist of the alleged cash truck in the alleged suburb of Chicago. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, and remember, if you think you saw something or know someone who found some of that cash, no, you don't. That's what they wrote in the article. It's kind of funny. Colin, you're just a crack up. Well, we're going to hop in our money bag, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of ohmtown.com, where you should go and sign up or sign in. We're doing some maintenance in the next 24 to 48 hours. So if the site's down, just come on back. We're trying to do some more optimization. I don't know, man. We're growing pretty big and fast. So and we got to make some changes, make some updates. I'm going to add some more stuff to it, and we're going to keep moving forward. So I hope that you go over and sign up for our Patreon. I need to do something over there. You tell me what you want, and I'll put it over on Patreon. We'll see. But be sure to download all of the podcasts. There's 7 of them that are, 6 that are weekly and 1 that's daily. And everything is posted over on YouTube and here on Twitch. We stream to both. I'm hoping that Patreon lets me stream to them when they activate that. That would be awesome. Because there wouldn't be any ads, because it would be Patreon bound. So it would be behind the Patreon paywall. But there would be no ads. And I don't know, maybe people who are in Patreon, I don't know how that would work. You know, if you're over on Patreon, I guess it's going to be the same as anywhere else that you have to pay. Hopefully they have 4K or something like that, because others don't have 4K streaming. I don't know how they're going to separate themselves. Anyway, that's it. I am done. I'd say something about the AI, but the AI is not here. They're on location performing AI, sentient AI from the future expert system support.